I want you to look at the private conversation you carry through each day, because that conversation is doing far more than commenting on your life. It is teaching you how to see it. Before your feet touch the floor in the morning, you may already have decided that the day will be difficult. Before another person speaks, you may already expect rejection. Before you attempt something new, you may already be imagining the reason it will not work. Now ask yourself, how many thoughts have you repeated so often that you no longer call them thoughts? You call them reality. You call them personality. You say, this is simply who I am. But I want you to consider another possibility. Perhaps it is not who you are. Perhaps it is only an inner picture you have practiced for a very long time. And beneath that picture, beneath the fear, the doubt, and the old expectation, there is an awareness within you that has never been limited by any of them. You are not every thought that passes through your mind. You are the one who can observe it and choose again. Because what you repeatedly rehearse within yourself, you eventually begin to live from. And this is where real change begins, not in the world outside you, but in the hidden place from which you are looking at it. Now, here's where so many people misunderstand the idea of changing their thoughts. They believe they can repeat a beautiful sentence once or twice while continuing to hold the same fearful picture within. They say, everything is going to work out, but inside they are preparing for disappointment. They say, I am confident, while imagining rejection before anyone has even responded. They ask for a new life, but every morning they consult the same old identity. And I'm not saying this to criticize you. I want you to become aware of it, because awareness is where freedom begins. A positive sentence placed over an old inner picture is like painting a window while refusing to open the curtains. The words may be bright, but the room is still being shaped by what you are unwilling to look at. So I am not asking you to force yourself to think happily. I am not asking you to deny pain. And I am certainly not asking you to pretend that a difficult circumstance does not exist. I am asking you to notice the thought beneath the words. What do you truly expect? What picture appears when you become quiet? What do you imagine just before sleep when there is no one left to impress? Because the deeper mind does not respond only to what you say occasionally. It responds to what you repeatedly accept, what you emotionally rehearse, and what you quietly assume to be true. You cannot create a new life while continually asking the old image of yourself for permission. The words must change, yes, but more importantly, the person speaking those words within you must begin to change. Now, I want you to see what happens when a thought is repeated often enough. And at first, it is only a thought. Then the thought creates a feeling. The feeling becomes familiar. And because it is familiar, you begin to trust it. You begin to call it intuition. You call it personality. You call it the way life is. But familiar does not always mean true. Sometimes it only means practiced. A person may rehearse worry for so many years that peace begins to feel uncomfortable. They may expect rejection for so long that genuine kindness feels suspicious. They may become so accustomed to struggle that when an opportunity appears, they pull away from it, not because the opportunity is wrong, but because it does not match the inner state they know. Think about that. You may say that you want a different life, while your body is still asking for the feelings of the old one. The old thought creates the old feeling. The old feeling influences the next choice, and the next choice quietly leads you toward another familiar result. Then you look at that result and say, you see, I knew this would happen. But what came first? Did the experience create the belief, or did the belief help guide you toward the experience? I am not asking you to blame yourself for everything that has happened. Life brings circumstances you did not choose, and pain can enter without your permission. But you do have a choice about whether yesterday's pain will become today's identity. Where does the old thought live within you? Does it become tension in your shoulders, a heaviness in your chest, a hesitation that appears whenever life asks you to move forward? Observe it gently. Do not condemn it. Simply recognize that a familiar feeling is not a command, and an old inner state is not your destiny. Now, I want you to think of your attention as a form of spiritual currency. Each morning, you wake up with a certain amount of it to spend. And whether you realize it or not, you are spending it from the moment the day begins. You spend it on a memory. You spend it on a fear. You spend it on something someone said years ago. You spend it imagining what may go wrong, rehearsing an argument that has not happened, or asking for approval from people who are not even present. And then at the end of the day, you wonder why the inner rooms of your life feel crowded with things you never wanted. But look at what you have been purchasing with your attention. Perhaps you bought another hour of regret. Perhaps you invested in an old resentment. Perhaps you gave the best part of your morning to a future disaster that existed only in your imagination. Now, I am not saying this to make you feel guilty. I am asking you to recognize the value of what you have been given. Because attention is creative. What you return to again and again begins to gather emotional weight. It begins to occupy space within you. And eventually, it begins to influence the way you see yourself and the way you meet the world. So ask yourself honestly, what am I buying with the currency of my thoughts? And am I purchasing more fear, or am I investing in peace? Am I strengthening the identity created by yesterday, or giving attention to the person I am willing to become? You do not have to control every thought that enters your mind, but you can decide which thoughts receive your continued investment. And where your attention repeatedly goes, your inner life begins to grow. Now let me bring this into the ordinary moments of your day, because this is where your inner life is being shaped most often, not in the dramatic moments, and not only in the great decisions, but in the small thoughts you repeat when no one else is listening. And what are the first words you say to yourself in the morning? Do you open your eyes and immediately think, I am tired, I cannot handle another day like this? Do you reach for your phone expecting bad news before life has even spoken to you? Do you enter a conversation already preparing to be misunderstood? Do you look at a new opportunity and search first for the reason it will fail? These may appear to be small habits of thought, but they are not small. They are quiet instructions. When you repeatedly say, I am stuck, you begin looking for evidence of limitation. When you say, nothing ever works for me, you train your attention to overlook what is working. When you say, people always leave, you may begin protecting yourself from love before love has had a chance to enter. And then there are the thoughts you carry into sleep. Think about that for a moment. The final picture you place in your mind at night is often the picture you allow the deeper part of you to hold while the outer world becomes quiet. Do you replay the mistake? Do you rehearse tomorrow's fear? Do you return to the conversation you wish had gone differently? Or do you give your mind an image of peace, of healing, of becoming? I want you to understand that your life is not shaped only by the words you speak aloud. It is also shaped by the assumptions you whisper inwardly. The mind listens when you say, I am too old. It listens when you say, I am not ready. It listens when you say, this is just the way I am. And because the mind is faithful to repetition, it begins to organize your attention around those instructions. So before you ask why tomorrow resembles yesterday, look gently at the thoughts you practice today, not to judge yourself, not to create guilt, but to become conscious of the quiet language from which you are living. Because once you can hear the instruction, you are no longer required to keep obeying it. Now, I want you to look even more deeply at the way thought shapes your life. You do not see only with your eyes. You see with your memories. You see with your expectations. You see with every conclusion you have repeated about yourself, about other people, and about what life is willing to give you. Two people can enter the same room and experience two entirely different worlds. One person sees possibility, the other sees judgment. One hears a simple question, the other hears criticism. One receives kindness, and the other becomes suspicious of it. The room is the same, but the inner observer is different. And this is what I want you to understand. You are never responding only to what is happening. You are also responding to what the old image of yourself believes is happening. If you have practiced feeling unwanted, you may search every face for rejection. If you have practiced feeling powerless, you may overlook the choices that are still available to you. If you have practiced believing that life is against you, even an open door may appear dangerous. Now, does this mean every difficulty is created by your thinking? No, but it does mean that your thinking influences how you enter the difficulty, what you notice within it, and who you become while moving through it. So I'm asking you to notice the observer within you. Who is looking at this moment? Is it the frightened self created by yesterday? Is it the wounded self expecting the past to repeat itself? Or is it the deeper awareness within you, the part that can pause, look again, and choose a new meaning? You do not change your life only by changing what you look at. You begin changing it when you transform the inner place from which you are looking. Now, I want you to listen carefully to the words you place after I am, because these may be the most powerful words you speak about yourself. You say, I am tired, I am afraid, and I am unlucky, I am not enough. And because you repeat these words so casually, you may not notice what you are doing. You are taking a temporary experience and attaching it to your identity. There is a great difference between saying, I am experiencing fear, and saying, I am a fearful person. There is a difference between saying, my body feels tired today, and declaring, I am weak. There is a difference between saying, I made a mistake, and deciding, I am a failure. One describes an experience, the other turns the experience into a definition. And I am asking you to be very careful here, because a condition may visit your life without being the truth of who you are. Fear may pass through you. Uncertainty may surround you. Someone may reject you. You may lose something you believed you needed. But none of these experiences has the authority to define the spiritual essence within you. So ask yourself, what follows I am when no one else is listening? What do you call yourself in the privacy of your own mind? Are you using the language of identity to describe something that was only meant to be temporary? You are not the painful event. You are not another person's opinion. You are not the number in an account, the condition of the body, or the mistake that still visits your memory. These things belong to your experience. They do not contain the whole of you. The deeper self within you is still capable of choosing, creating, forgiving, and beginning again. So when the old words return, pause. And instead of saying, I am broken, say, I am becoming aware of what needs healing. Instead of saying, I am lost, say, I am learning to listen for a new direction. Do not use I am to build a prison around a passing moment. Use it with reverence, because what you place after those words becomes part of the identity from which you meet your life. Let me give you a simple story. There was a man who had spent many years longing for a new beginning. He believed that if he could move away from the place where he had suffered, everything within him would finally become different. And one day, he found a beautiful new house. The walls were clean. The windows opened toward the morning light. Every room seemed to offer him another chance. And he walked through that house and said, at last, my life will feel new. But when the time came to decorate it, he opened the boxes he had carried from his old home. Inside were the same dark pictures he had looked at for years. One reminded him of betrayal. Another reminded him of failure. Another held the face of someone whose judgment he had never released. And without thinking, he hung those old pictures on every new wall. After a while, the house began to feel heavy. The rooms felt familiar. The light seemed to disappear. And the man said, I do not understand. I changed my surroundings, but nothing inside my life feels different. A wise visitor looked around quietly and said, the house may be new, but every image through which you are experiencing it belongs to the past. Now stay with that. How many times have you entered a new year, a new relationship, a new opportunity, or even a new morning, and immediately placed the old pictures upon the walls? You bring the memory of the last rejection into the next conversation. You bring yesterday's failure into tomorrow's possibility. You bring an old judgment into a life that has not yet had the chance to answer you differently. Then you wonder why the new room feels so much like the old one. I am not asking you to erase the past. I am asking you to stop using it as the only picture through which you are willing to see the future. The outer walls may change many times, but real change begins when you become conscious of the images you keep placing within them. Now, if the old pictures have been shaping the way you experience your life, then imagination is the place where the new picture must begin. I want you to understand that imagination is not childish fantasy. It is the inner workshop in which every visible act is first rehearsed. Look around you. The chair you are sitting on existed as an idea before it became something solid. A building existed in someone's mind before the first stone was placed. A song existed in silence before anyone heard a note. A letter existed as an intention before the words appeared upon the page. Everything visible had an invisible beginning, and so do you. The calmer response you wish you had made must first become possible within you. The courage to enter a new room must first be imagined before it can be expressed. Forgiveness must begin as an inner willingness before the outer relationship changes. The person you are becoming must first be welcomed in the unseen places of your own mind. Now, I am not asking you to escape from reality. I am asking you to stop believing that what is visible at this moment is the final limit of what can be. There is a difference. You can acknowledge where you are without making it your permanent address. You can see the present condition without surrendering your imagination to it. So ask yourself, what image of yourself have you been carrying? Do you see yourself always struggling, always waiting, always proving, always recovering from yesterday? Or can you begin to hold another picture, not of perfection, but of alignment? See yourself responding with peace. See yourself entering the day without carrying every old judgment with you. See yourself speaking from dignity, choosing with clarity, and trusting the quiet guidance within. Because before the new self can appear in your actions, it must first become familiar in your imagination. What you are willing to see within, you begin preparing yourself to live without. Now, there is an important distinction I want you to understand. It is not enough to think about the life you desire. You must begin learning to think from it. When you think about the end, you keep it somewhere in the distance. You ask, will it ever happen? How long will it take? What if I fail again? Why is there still no evidence? And every one of those questions quietly reminds you that the life you desire is not here. But when you think from the end, you ask a different question. You ask, how would I meet this moment if peace were already becoming natural to me? How would I enter this room if I already knew that I belonged? What would I choose today if I trusted that my life was moving in a meaningful direction? Now, I am not asking you to pretend that something has physically happened when it has not. I am asking you to stop postponing the inner state you believe the future will give you. You do not have to wait for the world to become peaceful before you practice peace. You do not have to wait for approval before you carry dignity. You do not have to wait for success before you begin thinking like someone who trusts their own purpose. The outer result may still be unfolding, but the identity from which you meet that result can begin now. Think about a person learning to walk into a room with confidence. If they continue rehearsing embarrassment, rejection, and failure, their body will carry those instructions through the door. But if they quietly imagine themselves breathing, standing upright, speaking clearly, and remaining at peace, they begin entering the room from another inner place. This is what it means to live from the end. You are not forcing the future. You are allowing the qualities of the person you wish to become to enter the present moment. So do not ask only, when will my life change? Ask instead, what would the new version of me quietly assume right now? Then let your next thought, your next word, and your next choice arise from that assumption. Now, I want to give you a simple way to begin changing the inner state from which you are living. Not by forcing your mind, not by fighting every thought, and not by becoming angry with yourself whenever the old voice returns. The first shift is to catch the thought without becoming it. When fear appears, simply notice it. Say inwardly, there is the old thought again. Do not say, this thought is who I am. Do not say, because I feel it, it must be true. Observe it. Let it stand before your awareness without giving it the authority to define you. This is important because the moment you can witness a thought, you are no longer completely trapped inside it. You are the awareness noticing the fear. You are the awareness noticing the doubt. And the awareness itself is not frightened. It is simply present. The second shift is to choose a new inner picture. I'm not asking you to imagine an entire perfect life. Choose one simple scene. See yourself responding calmly in a situation that once disturbed you. See yourself walking into a room without shrinking. See yourself finishing the work you have delayed. See yourself speaking honestly, sleeping peacefully, or releasing someone you no longer need to carry. Keep the picture simple. The mind does not need a long performance. It needs a clear direction. And then comes the third shift. Feel the new assumption as if it is already beginning within you. Ask yourself, if peace were becoming natural to me, where would I feel it? Perhaps your breathing would soften. Perhaps your shoulders would relax. Perhaps you would feel a little less urgency to control everything. Do not wait for the entire outer world to change before allowing yourself one moment of peace. Let the feeling begin first. Tonight, before you sleep, notice the final picture you are placing in your mind. If it is the old argument, release it. If it is tomorrow's fear, replace it. Choose one quiet image of the person you are becoming and allow yourself to feel that identity as present. Not complete and not perfect, but alive within you. Do not beg the future to rescue you. Begin becoming inwardly familiar with the state you believe the future will give you. Because when the new thought becomes familiar, the new feeling begins to guide the next choice. And that next choice, however small, is where a different life begins. Now, I want you to understand that changing your thoughts is not simply a way to collect more things. It is not only about attracting money, recognition, possessions, or the approval of other people. There is nothing wrong with allowing prosperity into your life, but if your inner world remains ruled by fear, resentment, and the need to prove yourself, then no outer achievement will feel like freedom. The deeper purpose of changing your thoughts is to release the identity that keeps you imprisoned in the past. It is to stop carrying anger into every new relationship. It is to stop asking strangers to repair the worth that you have forgotten within yourself. It is to forgive, not because what happened was acceptable, but because you no longer wish to organize your entire life around the wound. You may believe that you are searching for happiness, but beneath happiness is a greater hunger. The hunger for meaning. When your life has meaning, every moment does not have to be easy. You can move through uncertainty without believing that you have been abandoned. You can face difficulty and still know that something within you is growing. And meaning begins to deepen when you stop asking only, what can I receive? You begin asking, what can I offer? How may I serve? What quality of love, peace, healing, or encouragement can move through me today? This is spiritual alignment. It is not forcing the universe to obey your wishes. It is bringing your thoughts into harmony with the source from which you came. And when you begin living from that place, you discover that the greatest change is not merely that life gives you more, it is that you become free enough to give more of who you truly are. Now, I want you to take this into your heart. You are not trapped by your past. You may have been shaped by it. You may have been wounded by it. You may still feel its presence when an old memory returns or when fear speaks with a familiar voice. But the past does not have to remain the authority from which you live. You are being invited to stop rehearsing it. That is different. You do not have to deny what happened. You do not have to pretend it did not hurt. You simply have to stop allowing yesterday to decide who you are permitted to become today. The old thought gained strength because it was repeated. The old feeling became familiar because you returned to it again and again. But what has been practiced can be observed, and what can be observed no longer has to be obeyed. You are not powerless. Your power has always lived in the attention you give, the image you hold, the meaning you choose, and the inner place from which you take your next step. You do not have to transform your entire life in one moment. You only have to stop agreeing automatically with the thought that says you cannot change. What you repeatedly rehearse within yourself, you eventually begin to live from. So let the rehearsal become different. Let the next thought carry peace. Let the next choice carry dignity. And let the person you are becoming receive more of your attention than the person you have already been. So tonight, before you close your eyes, I want you to notice the final picture you place within your mind. Do not carry every mistake into sleep. Do not give tomorrow another image from yesterday. Release one old sentence. Release one identity you no longer wish to strengthen. And choose quietly the inner picture of the person you are becoming. See yourself at peace. See yourself responding with wisdom. See yourself walking into the next day without asking the past for permission. You do not have to force the outcome. You do not have to know every step. Simply begin changing the hidden place from which you think, because when that place changes, what you notice changes. What you feel changes. What you choose begins to change. And slowly, the life growing from you begins to change as well. Let the old pictures come down and allow the inner home of your life to hold something new. If this message reached you at the right moment, take a breath. Like this video, subscribe for more daily wisdom and write, "I choose new thoughts" in the comments. Let those words become more than a comment and let them become a decision. Change the hidden place from which you think, and the life that grows from you will begin to change with it.